Hello students, how are you? Hope you're doing fine. So today we are going to start with the last topic in respiration and breathing of gases, and that is disorders in respiration. Disorders in respiration. Okay, so we are going to do 3 disorders, and those 3 disorders are emphysema, and asthma, and COPD. Okay, I'm a little unwell today, so possibly my energy level in teaching is not that high, but I'll try to make this session as interesting as possible with lots of colorful diagrams and lots of knowledge I'll try to impart to you. Okay, so let's start the today's session with emphysema. Okay. So I hope you all are with me. You're seeing my videos and you're studying well. So what happens in emphysema is that, let us draw a diagram and understand. I think that will be much more exciting for you people. Okay, so these are what? These I'm drawing alveoli, very zoomed in portion of alveoli. Okay, so suppose this is what I am trying to draw as alveoli. Okay, and these are alveoli. Well, what I have drawn like a kachar thing. Let me draw more proper so that we can understand. Okay, that all became very messed up. They look like a bunch of grapes, no, when we draw. Okay, so let me draw alveoli. Okay, so these are the alveoli of healthy person. Okay, these are the alveoli of a healthy person. Okay, remember this. Now what this alveoli has? These has elastin fibers. What it has? It has elastin fibers. Okay, suppose these are the elastin fibers, and these are present in the alveoli of a healthy person. Okay, this is very important. So this is with the red I have drawn. It is elastin fibers. Okay, elastin fibers. And what do elastin fibers do? And what do elastin fibers do? They help in the recoil of the alveoli during inspiration and expiration. So now let us just draw one alveolus. Okay, now let me draw just one alveolus. Okay, then things will be much clear. So suppose this is the alveolus. Okay, these are the cells, single layered. It is single layered, you know, single layered cells. A lining of single layered cells. Why single layered? So that the easy diffusion of gases can take place. Okay, so this is, and some are known as surfactant cells. Okay, and this is the basement surface or basement membrane, you can say. And then this is the what? This is the capillary. You're with me till now. What is this? This is the capillary with the RBCs. Oh, sorry, with the, such a big mistake. With the RBCs, okay? With the RBCs. And what is happening? If you have seen my previous lectures, what is happening from the capillaries to the alveolus? Okay, this is happening. Oxygen is going, CO2 is coming out. Okay, and these are what? These are surfactant cells. Okay, and there are some macrophages also. These are some macrophages. Okay, and I'll tell you about macrophages. Okay. So now let me tell you about macrophages. What are these macrophages doing? So basically they do two things. Okay. First, they help in cleaning of the alveoli. Okay. And secondly, they are protecting against infection. So these two things macrophages are doing. They are protecting against infections and they are cleaning the alveoli. Okay, and now one thing I'll more tell you, that this alveolus, it secretes what? It secretes antiproteases. It secretes antiproteases. Now I'll tell you why I'm telling that alveolus secretes antiproteases. Okay. So, and what these antiproteases do? They protect they're anti to the protease. So obviously they are they protect against what? They protect against the protease activity. Okay, they are prevent against the protease activity. So I hope you are with me till now. We drew a healthy alveoli, we drew a healthy alveolus with macrophages and the capillary and the diffusion of gases. And I told you that alveolus is secreting anti-proteases, that is protecting against the protease activity. We will talk about this shortly. And what are these macrophages doing? These macrophages are cleaning the alveoli and protecting against infections. Okay. I'll just, okay. So now let me tell you about this protease thing. What is that I am talking about? Okay. So what happens in emphysema? What happens in emphysema, that there should be a balance. There should be a balance between antiprotease, okay, and protease. Why? Because protease is secreted by immune cells. Okay, protease is secreted by immune cells. And what does it do? What does it do? It destroys the elastin fibers. It destroys the elastin fibers and the alveoli wall and the alveolus wall. Okay, we'll see this with diagram also, that how it is destroying. But till now you are with me that in emphysema there is an imbalance. It should be the balance. But in emphysema, what happens? There is an imbalance of antiprotease, and so imbalance of antiprotease and protease activity. So what happens in emphysema? Basically, that in emphysema, what happens? Protease activity increases in comparison to antiprotease activity, right? So what is happening? This is destroying. So destruction of elastin fibers and the alveolus wall, right? Why? Because there is an increased protease activity. Okay, there is an increased protease activity in emphysema. So till now you are with me. Okay, now we'll see what is happening. My God, this diagram is dying to come. Okay, so basically now I will tell you what is actually happening in emphysema. Till now we studied about the healthy alveoli. Okay, so emphysema is very common. It's not very common, but it generally happens to people who smoke. Okay, who smoke cigarettes. It's very common in those people. It happens to those people who smoke cigarettes. And what does the smoke of cigarette contains? It contains oxidative toxins. And these oxidative toxins, can have devastating effects. They can have devastating outcomes. And that's why it said even passive smoking is bad, because we are inhaling oxidative toxins. Okay, so now let us draw our alveolus. Okay, we are drawing an alveolus. Okay, and suppose these are the reactive oxidative toxins that we are talking about. Okay, these are the oxidative toxins that we are talking about, and we'll draw these epithelial cells, one layered. And what else we drew? We said there were some surfactant cells and there were some macrophages, right? And then there was this capillary, okay? And then there was this basement membrane or basement surface, okay? All these things we drew. Now what is happening? These oxidative toxins are attacking the alveolus. So now what will happen? As they will come inside alveolus, what will begin to happen? There will be an enhanced immune response. What is this? This is enhanced immune response. The body is saying, help me, help me. And this is enhanced immune response. Okay. Now, what will happen? What is going to happen? Due to enhanced immune response, there will be an inflammatory response. Okay, inflammatory response. Okay, so now what all is happening? There will elastin fibers, remember, and some neutrophils will also come over here now. Okay, some neutrophils will also come, and there are some metalloprotease also. We are not going into much detail. These are metalloprotease. Okay, and what do these do? They will do the tissue damage. They will do the tissue damage. Okay, I told you there should be a balance of, there should be a balance between anti-protease and protease, but in emphysema, this protease activity is increased. So now let's see what happens. Okay, due to these inflammatory metalloprotease, I said no, there can be devastating outcome. Now let's see what is that devastating outcome. Okay, so now this alveolus is not a proper alveolus now, and see what happened to the elastin fibers. It is not well bound now, and see what happened to the cells. It's all broken. Okay, so this metalloprotease is doing what? It is doing tissue damage. Okay, so what happened? It is destroyed from the protease activity. What happened? Due to the increase of protease activity, it is destroyed. And you remember, this was the capillary and this was the basement surface. Now you know what will else happen? There will be some collagen deposition also in this basement. So there will be some collagen deposition also, which will make it hardened. Okay, and what will happen? And what else will happen? Let us see. There, I told you there will be some neutrophils, right? Some neutrophils. What are these neutrophils doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? They are secreting. They secrete protease. And which protease? They secrete mainly elastase. And what is elastase doing? What is elastase doing? It is destroying elastin fibers. Okay, this is destroying elastin fibers. You saw these elastin fibers. So these are the destroyed elastin fibers. Okay, these are the destroyed elastin fibers. So basically, what is this I have drawn? This is a alveolus of a patient infected with emphysema. Okay, first we drew the alveolus of a healthy person, saw what all things are present, and then we drew an alveolus of an infected person. Sorry. Now there will be some T lymphocytes also. And what will these T lymphocytes do? There will be some T lymphocytes also. Okay, and what will these T lymphocytes do? These T lymphocytes will do what? They will destroy the tissue. They will destroy the tissue. So you saw how devastating effect. These were the devastating outcomes. See how healthy this alveolus was looking and see how it is looking. So this is what is happening in emphysema. Okay, now let us see this diagram and understand what is actually happening. This is what I have told you. Okay, see, smoking and emphysema. Smoking and emphysema. Smoking and emphysema. These are the healthy lungs that we can see, and these are the healthy alveoli that we can see. Now what happens that there are harmful particles trapped in alveoli. These particles that you can see, that I told you, the oxidative toxins I told you about. Then I told you about the inflammatory response triggered. And then inflammatory chemicals dissolve alveolar septum. See, this septum is getting, see these things, these are getting dissolved. Now there's a large air cavity. See this? No septums, and there are carbon deposits. And now see, from healthy lungs, what happened? Devastating outcome. What happened? Devastating outcome. So we should never smoke. See what happens to our lungs. Okay, so this is what it increases due to emphysema activity. Hope you have understood. Now let us see few more things. What are the risk factors of emphysema? What are the risk factors? It happens because mostly 95% because of smoking. It also happens at time because of advanced age. The elastin fibers are not that strong. Sometimes it is genetic. Sometimes it is genetic also. And sometimes there are developmentally abnormal lungs. Okay, but it happens mostly due to smoking. Okay, now one more thing that I would like to tell you is that these emphysema patients infected with emphysema are also known as pink puffers. They are also known as pink puffers. Okay, they are also known as pink puffers, and just there's inflammatory response and the elastin fibers break down, and there's a low alveoli recoil. Okay, so now this we have understood emphysema in detail. And now let us see about COPD. Okay, COPD. The full form is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Okay, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, right? So now we are going to study about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Okay, so what is this COPD? It is a common respiratory problem. Okay, it is a common respiratory problem involving what? What happens in this problem? Involving the airways. Obviously, this is respiratory problem, so it involves the airways, and it is characterized by airflow limitation, right? And generally there is a lot of chronic cough. There is a lot of sputum production. There's a lot of wheezing, and that sound generally that come like this sound that comes, wheezing. Then there is that chest tightness. Okay, chest tightness. So this is what happens in COPD. Now let us see something more about it. I'll draw some bronchioles and then you will be able to understand it better. So let me draw a normal healthy bronchiole. Let me draw a healthy bronchiole. Then you will be able to understand it better. I'll compare the healthy bronchiole with a bronchiole infected by COPD. Okay, so now I'm drawing a cross section of a healthy bronchiole. So now these are the smooth muscles. Okay, these are what? These are what? These are the smooth muscles. Okay, and then there is this, and there is this mucus. What is this? This is mucus. Now what will happen in an bronchiole infected with what? Infected with COPD. What will happen? That there will be a mucus hypersecretion. And what do we mean by mucus hypersecretion? Lots of mucus secretion. Okay, so let us see what happens. So this is the smooth muscles, but see the amount of mucus. Okay, this is mucus. Now can you feel the difference? What is happening? There is a mucus over secretion. Okay, and due to this mucus hypersecretion, what happens? The airways become limited and therefore there is difficulty in breathing. What happens? There is a difficulty in breathing because of what? Because of mucus hypersecretion. This is mucus hypersecretion. Okay, can you see the difference? Okay, so this is a healthy bronchiole and this is a bronchiole infected with COPD. Okay, now you understood all these things. I hope you have understood all these things. Now let me tell you something about asthma also. Okay, the third thing that I told that I will be talking about asthma. So now let us start doing about asthma. So asthma is what? Asthma is a chronic inflammation of airways. Chronic inflammation of airways. You might have heard about this, no? Asthma ho gaya. Okay. You might have heard people saying he's very allergic to pollen, he's very allergic to this, she's very allergic to this. Now that she can't breathe if there's a lot of pollen. Whenever there's a wheat cutting going on, then there's a difficulty in breathing. So what is this? What is this asthma? What are they talking about? Let us try to understand. So now asthma can be classified into two types: atopic and non-topic. Atopic and non-atopic. And what is this atopic and non-atopic? Okay, so atopic is extrinsic and non-atopic is intrinsic asthma. Intrinsic asthma. Okay, so now let us see atopic or extrinsic. This is the most common asthma, okay, that we generally see in people, and it is very less. Okay, it is far less common. And in this the inflammation is due to some outside allergen. It is due to some outside allergens, and in this there is a bodily response, bodily response to some internal things. Okay, so the most common one is atopic or extrinsic. Now let us see, and this happens due to allergens. Now let us see what is happening in asthma. I hope you are enjoying this, right? So this is cross section of bronchioles. I really wanted to finish this chapter so that one chapter you can prepare and we can go with the questions in the next class. Although I'm a little unwell today, but I thought that I'll take it, finish it so that you can prepare your chapter. So that's fine. Okay, ये सब तो लगा रहता है. So now this is the smooth muscle of a bronchiole that I am drawing. This is the smooth muscle of the bronchiole that I am drawing. And now this is what? This is mucus. Okay, this is the mucus. So now let us just zoom in this. Let us just zoom into just this portion and see what actually are we drawing. Okay, what is actually that we are drawing. Okay, so these are the layers. We will study these layers also in detail, not in respiration, but yes, we'll study in different chapters. Okay, so these are the pseudo stratified cells that I am drawing. Okay, these are the pseudo stratified columnar cells. Okay, and this is the smooth muscle that I have drawn. This is the muscle that I have drawn, and this is this is the smooth muscle that I have drawn. That's what I'm thinking. Why I'm feeling that something is not correct. So these are the smooth muscles that I have drawn, and in between these pseudo stratified columnar cells, there is this goblet cells also present. So with the yellow, I am drawing two goblet cells. Okay, and what else? This is lamina propria. Okay, and okay, this is the lamina propria, and these are the mast cells. Okay, so now let me label it. So this is the mucus. Okay, generally I have drawn mucus with yellow, so I'll draw it with yellow. So now let us label it. It is the layer of mucus that we have drawn, and smooth muscle, lamina propria. Okay, and these are what? These are the mast cells. I'll tell you about mast cells, why I have drawn them and what are they doing. And these are the goblet cells, and you know what goblet cells do? Yes, they secrete mucus. Okay, they secrete mucus. You already know this. And these are what? Where should I write? These are pseudo stratified columnar cells. And then there is this basement membrane. You can say this is this basement. This is this base. This is what? This is this basement membrane. So I hope you have understood this. We have just taken a cross section of this area. We took a cross section of this area, right? And see, there was this mucus. Who was secreting mucus? Goblet cells present in the pseudo stratified columnar cells. In between, they are secreting. Then there is this basement membrane. These are the smooth muscles. Okay, this is the smooth muscles that I have drawn, and these are the lamina propria with the mast cells. I think this much is clear till now. Okay, now let me see what is actually happening in asthma. What is actually happening in asthma? How this is changing? How this changes in what? In asthma. Okay, now let us see that. If you see it with a diagram, no, things get very clear, and that's why I always prefer drawing a diagram and telling you, because biology is, you know, and especially human physiology is very interesting, and you know, you just fall in love with it and you want to study it more and more, go in more detail, but you know, you have to first clear the medical competitive exam to know more and more. because it is like a deep well. You can just continue to study. You know, there are people, there are scientists who are doing research on mast cells, and for 50 years, 60 years, they're doing research on these mast cells, you know. So there are scientists who are spending their, 50, 60 years in one cell only. So we cannot just, we have to first clear the exam, either medical competitive, you want to become a scientist, you want to do a BSc, whatever you want to do, whatever is your dream, you just, you have to first clear it, you have to get into it, and then you have to study in detail. Okay, ठीक है बच्चों, चलो अब हम देखेंगे how this is changing during asthma. Now that mucus that we had drawn, that mucus that we had drawn, what will happen, that this mucus will become so much, this much mucus, see how less mucus was here, and see how much more mucus is here. And what will happen, mucus pseudostratified cell, and if this is increasing, what is increasing? If mucus is increasing, who was there were pseudostratified cells, remember, pseudostratified columnar cells. Okay, and what were in between? There were goblet cells that were secreting what? Mucus. Remember, goblet cells, these were the goblet cells that were secreting the mucus. Okay, now see how many goblet cells are there. Okay, so there is an increase of goblet cells, and therefore there is an increase in, increase in mucus. You can see increase in mucus, increase in goblet cells, these all goblet cells, increase in goblet cells. You saw all these things. Now there was this basement membrane, okay, that we had drawn with, so there will be a thickened basement membrane. This basement membrane will also get thick. Okay, this basement membrane which we had drawn very thin, can you see here? This basement membrane, can you see here? This with very thin basement membrane, and see what happened here to this basement membrane. And I told you I'll tell you about mast cells also, and see what happened. This was a lamina propria. Okay, this was the lamina propria with mast cells. Now see what is happening to the mast cells. Okay, these are what? These are mast cells. And what happened to the mast cells? They have increased. And below there is what? There is the smooth muscle layer. This is the smooth muscle. Okay, so let us see what all happened. What all happened? First thing that happened was mucus increased. Second thing that happened was goblet cells increased. Third thing that happened was what? Basement. I think when I'm writing it, guys, you are just having a picture what I have just drawn, because that's important. When I'm writing, that picture should, the diagram should go in your mind. Mast cell increases. I remember that I have to tell you about these mast cells. Don't think that ma'am will not tell. Okay, and then there was a smooth muscle layer. Okay, so now the thing is, I have to tell you about these mast cells. Okay, what do these mast cells, why are they increasing? They play a major role. These mast cells play a major role in, you can say, airway obstruction, because asthma is what? This is airway obstruction. Okay, airway obstruction. And how? Via smooth muscle contraction and high mucus secretion and high, you can say, high mucosa edema. Okay, so what does mast cell secrete? What does mast cell secrete? I think you should know this. If you don't know this, I'll tell you. Mast cell secretes histamines, and basically these histamines are doing this, this histamine is doing this airway obstruction. They are playing a major role in all these things. Okay, so I hope you are enjoying this session, and now let's see what are the characteristics that happen in asthma. Okay, what are the characteristics of asthma? So one thing, there is airflow obstruction. There is airflow obstruction, and there is bronchus, broncho hyper responsive. Bronchus become hyper responsive, and then there is inflammation. But there is a difference between inflammation and contraction. At times few people just say that the bronchioles सिकुड़ जाते हैं. No, वो सिकुड़ नहीं जाते, वो inflame हो जाते हैं. अगर there is one thing, सिकुड़ जाते हैं means they shrink. No, inflame means that this was the pathway and they have this is the inflammation. So that's why basically the area in which the air was going has reduced. So please remember this, inflammation. Okay, and generally what are the symptoms? What are the symptoms that we see? We see shortness of breath. That's one of the most important symptom of asthma, shortness of breath. Then there is wheezing. Okay, then there is the sound that comes from the chest. There is chest tightness, and then there is that there is this dry irritating cough. Okay, there is a dry irritating cough. So I hope I am very clear with what I have told you today. Okay, and let us see what we have done today, and this completes our chapter of respiration. Okay, so we started with disorders in respiration. I told you that we're doing 3 disorders, right? I told you we'll be doing emphysema, asthma, and COPD. We did emphysema. We drew an healthy alveolus. We drew a healthy alveolus with elastin fibers of a healthy person. And then we draw one alveolus. Okay, we drew one alveolus. We drew these macrophages, cells. Okay, what I told you that there is an increase in protease activity, and this alveolus secretes anti-proteases. Then we also talked about, see, what is this protease doing? Okay, so what are these macrophages that are present? They're doing, they're cleaning the alveoli and they're protecting against infections. So generally there should be a balance between anti-protease and protease, but in emphysema there is an imbalance. So what does this protease do? Is secreted by immune cells, and it destroys the elastin fibers and the alveolus wall that we saw in the diagram also. So the protease activity increases, and then there is a destruction of elastin fibers and alveolus wall. It generally happens, emphysema, to heavy smokers. Then I told you what is present in the smoke. Oxidative toxins are present, and when these oxidative toxins go inside the alveolus, there is a devastating outcome. And then we talked about what is this devastating outcome that we are talking about. Okay, I told you about this metalloprotease that is doing tissue damage, and there is an inflammatory response. Then I told you about this alveolus of a patient infected with emphysema. See how this alveolus has been destroyed. Okay, and I told you that neutrophils are coming, and what they are doing, they are secreting elastase, which is a kind of protease which is destroying elastin fibers. There is this T lymphocytes also, it is destroying tissue, and there is this collagen deposition also. Okay, so we understood emphysema. Now in the next class I'll be asking questions, so be ready for it. Now then we did this, what was this devastating outcome? We did this healthy lungs, and then this emphysema lungs. So basically that is what I told you, harmful particles trapped in alveoli. Okay, these were the harmful particles trapped in alveoli. What are these doing? These are the oxidative toxins, and then due to oxidative These are oxidative toxins, and due to this, there is what? There is an inflammatory response, right? There is an inflammatory response. And what is this inflammatory response doing? It is dissolving what? It is dissolving alveolar septum, okay? And then what is this? There is large air cavity with carbon deposits. And see, the lungs have all destroyed. We did this. Then we saw how generally this happens. It happens 95% due to smoking, advanced age, genetic factors, and developmentally abnormal lungs. Then we also said that emphysema are also known as pink puffers. Okay, here I'll tell you one more thing, that COPD, they are known as blue bloaters. They are known as blue bloaters. Okay, and what is COPD? It is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It is a common respiratory problem involving the airways and characterized by airflow limitation. How? Due to chronic cough. And what are the symptoms? Chronic cough, sputum production, wheezing, and chest tightness. Then we saw a healthy bronchiole and an unhealthy bronchiole that is infected with COPD. So what is happening in healthy bronchiole? There is this a very fine layer of mucus and smooth muscles. And what happened in the bronchiole that was infected with COPD? There was mucus hypersecretion, and there was a lot of difficulty breathing due to it. So this is the mucus hypersecretion that we saw, okay? And due to which there was difficulty in breathing, right? And they are known as, see, I told you, right? Yeah, I told you blue bloaters. Now we studied about asthma. So in what is asthma? It is chronic inflammation of airways, and it is a very, 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 people really get very parishan in asthma. I've seen people, and it's a very bad disorder. So I told you that asthma can be of two types, atopic and non-atopic. And atopic means extrinsic, it means intrinsic. It is the most common one. It is very less common, and it is caused due to allergens, okay? Now we saw a cross section of a bronchiole in asthma. So then we saw this, there was this mucus, pseudostratified columnar cells, lamina propria, mucus, pseudostratified columnar cells, basement membrane, lamina propria, and smooth muscle. And these mast cells which secrete histamine. What they secrete? They secrete histamines, okay? And how this changes? See, there's increase in mucus, there's increase in goblet cells, and increase in mast cells, and therefore there's an increase in, and therefore histamines increase, okay? And there is a airway obstruction, right? So this is what is happening. So now there is airflow obstruction. There is the bronchus become hyper responsive, and not hyper responsive, hyper responsiveness, okay? And there's an inflammation. And then I told you about the symptoms: shortness of breath, wheezing, chest tightness, and dry irritating cough. I hope this is clear. And now when I'll be taking questions, you will understand that understanding with diagram is why always very nice. So in the next session, we will be taking questions. So be prepared. See all the videos. I have taken each and every video, I have taken each and every structure in detail, and I have taken each and every process in detail. Okay. Okay. So these questions will be, as I told you, they will be one word. They will be fill in the blanks. There will be one word, fill in the blanks, and then there will be one sentence. Now we'll be thinking, these all don't come in NEET. Yes, but they clear your concepts. They clear your concepts. I also give you some labeling, because labeling is asked in NEET, and it also clears your concept.
And then obviously we'll be doing MCQs, and then we are done with this chapter. We can celebrate for a while, and then we will go to what? We will go to the next topic that I'm going to take, that is digestion and absorption. Okay, so I hope you had a fun session today. Okay, please prepare it and learn how to apply the knowledge. So guys, take care and stay home, stay safe. Bye.